Hey everyone, bienvenidos.
And we're back.
And we're back again. Today we got some donuts and we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of being an interracial couple in the States. Without further ado, let's dig in because I'm hungry.
Oh my god, I've been waiting all day for these donuts. So, alright, let's go get into it. We cut the donuts up into little pieces so we can share some.
짠!
짠! 잘 먹겠습니다.
잘 먹겠습니다.
There's passion fruit inside here.
So yeah, Lucy and I have been dating for 8 months now.
8 months with this crazy person.
She's crazy too. And we are an interracial couple. I am Haitian and Puerto Rican.
Half black, half Hispanic.
Yeah. And also have a smidge of German in me. And Lucy is, would you say?
I would say I'm full Asian. I'm majority identify as Korean because my parents are Korean, but I've heard that I have some Japanese ancestry inside my blood too, but I'm not quite sure. I really would love to actually sit down with Brandon and get like a full ancestry test. Ancestry?
I think I heard something where, I don't know, a lot of Asian cultures are very homogenous, but there may be some like, yeah, there may be some mixing of like Japanese or Chinese or I don't know, any like neighboring countries. Sort of like how, you know, if you're Dominican, you probably have some Haitian in you. So we come from different parts of the world and our cultures, there's some similarities for sure, but they are also like vastly different. This relationship has challenged me the most, yeah, in many ways. So
we'll weigh out the pros and the cons together because nobody likes to hear all cons or all pros, you know.
Was this a terrible idea?
Okay, so I'll start off and say that one of the pros of being an interracial couple is that you get to diversify like your your family bloodline and also just be very aware of different cultures and everything like that in your own relationship, but also in family. I didn't really know of Brandon's ethnicities and cultures prior to meeting him. I mean, upon looking at him, I probably would just think he's Hispanic and nothing else. He's been pretty much like always surrounded with different types of people around university and mainly surrounded along with Black culture, and I was very interested to see like different people hang out with different cultural groups because like you kind of immerse yourself in that. I remember ever since I was little too, my parents taught me a very certain way to be like only Korean, speak Korean in the house, like no English, and it's like that makes absolutely no sense. Traditional families, like for example a traditional Korean family, we're very homogenous, so we don't really, I guess, accept or are open to the thought of foreigners or Westerners coming into our culture. And I think that challenges the norm, you know. I'm a first generation Korean American because my parents fully identify as Korean. They don't identify themselves as American, even though we've been living here for quite a long time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think that kind of segues into
one of a con.
A con, which is, I mean, it's sort of two sides of the same coin. Like it's a pro and it's a con because we come from two different worlds, so to speak. There's like a cultural, definitely like a cultural barrier. And like Lucy's parents, they speak a little bit of English because your parents are so like
live,
Korean.
die,
like,
eat Korea.
Yeah, I would imagine that they would like badger you.
I never really had many Korean friends growing up. Like even coming to the States, my parents enrolled me and my brother into Korean school, went to Korean churches, and we felt like foreigners like in our own culture because we, in a sense, were raised in a Korean culture, but we were in the States, so we kind of were very confused, and at the same time like we felt very unaccepted from our own culture but very unaccepted from another culture, so it's kind of like an in-between.
I guess that's another pro, is oftentimes a lot of different people struggle with identity, especially if you're a minority and you can feel estranged from your own culture or your own group, you can sort of seek refuge or like really connect with your partner that comes from a different culture because you felt shunned from your own culture, you know. And I experienced the same thing because I wasn't 100% Hispanic or 100% Haitian or what have you.
Both cultures will be kind of hesitant, or both races will be hesitant to accept the person into their world, because it's like, if you look a certain way, you're not accepted. If you don't talk a certain way, you're not accepted. If you're not acknowledged on certain things, you're not accepted. It's like you can't win, pretty much, you know. Which is why when you're in your case, when you're biracial and as a child you don't really know who to identify with, and you get pretty much like talked down to wherever you go.
But being an interracial couple, I think sometimes you can really just connect with the other person. Sometimes, especially lately, I feel more Korean, or I feel like more immersed or accepted by their culture, like at least when I'm around Lucy and her family, than I do at home. You know, and at home it's just my mom. She's not really super in touch with her culture when it's just her and I at home.
One big con that I feel like a lot of interracial couples face is just discrimination from society. Kind of going back to the acceptance thing, depending on where you live, people will stare at you. They'll probably kind of maybe make their own judgments for themselves. I would say if I was back in Korea living there and I brought Brandon to like live with me, we would definitely get more stares than we would in the States.
Yeah, a Korean and a non-Korean, or a Korean and a foreigner.
Koreans are funny. Like the moment you actually know Korean, like you can speak it and you know of the culture, it's like, oh my god, like how do you speak that language and how do you know about this? It's like anybody else, you learn it, you know, implicate it with those around you.
Yeah, and in some cases foreigners could speak better than natives, you know. I know people that aren't Hispanic that speak way better Spanish than I do. Oftentimes when Lucy and I are like out in public, I feel like we definitely get a bit of that glare or like side eye sort of thing.
Judgment, maybe.
Yeah, but then sometimes people will compliment us, like, oh, you're such a beautiful couple, blah blah blah, which
also it's also generational, because like, so I was born in 97, he was born in 98, so it's also generational since we're millennials. Honestly, just really depends on where you live and also who you surround yourself with, you know. I think that also when you're surrounded in the city, like you're kind of diversifying yourself already, because there's so many people that live in the city, while in the suburbs, which is where we live, there is still some people, but it's more separated. And
100%.
I don't like the fact that also as an interracial couple, like people make like slight racist jokes sometimes, you know, or they make remarks that might sound funny to them and they say it in a way where it sounds funny, but really it's like low-key kind of racist, and kind of say like sly comments, or maybe they don't mean what they say or something like that. We just try to take it with a grain of salt and just move along. Obviously if they need to be corrected, we will correct them right away.
Yeah, check them. I kind of felt, prior to us being official, I kind of felt am I worthy sort of thing. Like it was like really bad like thoughts, like shaming myself, you know.
But on the flip side, I felt the same way too, because, you know, I'm somebody who isn't of his culture, but also I might not be of any expectation that your parents might expect for a partner too, you know. I am very mindful of that.
Were you thinking my mom was expecting like me to bring home a Hispanic girl?
Something like that, or like I felt like Brandon was really into black girls, so I was like, oh no, like I'm not gonna be anything compared to his exes or something like that. Brandon's mom is very accepting of me, and Brandon's dad too. I would say they like me more now that I like kind of take on another cultural side. Brandon is trying to learn Korean and I'm trying to learn a little more Spanish. Even though his family can speak perfect English, I want to embrace a certain side that I feel like might be forgotten, if not remembered, you know. We will make it a priority for our children to learn English, Spanish, and Korean, just those three, at least if it's just a versatile way of them switching between the different languages, because I think English is the most versatile because everybody would want to speak it, but because we're in the States, people speak a lot of Spanish, and there's actually a lot of Koreans coming up in the States now, nowadays too, so. Yeah. And we also get cute babies. I love my Brandon so much.
I love you too.
Being an interracial couple goes beyond seeing each other for each other's race. I definitely think it's important to acknowledge that person's culture is there. Just embrace each other's cultures and be very mindful and very knowledgeable about each other's race and boundaries and stuff like that, because I don't feel like people know our story, or people don't bother to know anybody's story. So we thought it'd be just fun to let you guys inside a perspective in our life.
Yes, and with that, we will see you in the next video.
You ready?
Okay.
다음에 또 봐. Adios.
Adios.
Peace.
Now we pita.